you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to all the witnesses for your testimony on the bills that we're considering today. In particular, I want to thank my fellow Coloradan, Mr. McCombs, for being here, for traveling to Washington, D.C., and for your testimony, and of course for your service to the state that we both love. I wonder if you might, you talked a bit about the partnerships between the state of Colorado and the federal government, the Forest Service in particular, but BLM as well. And I suspect that you would agree with the sentiments. I don't know if you had an opportunity to hear some of the exchange that I had with the individual from the Forest Service previously, but some of the concerns that have been articulated on the ground in Colorado for the folks that I represent about the rollbacks at the Forest Service and the realities with respect to the freezing of grants and just the implications for the folks back in Colorado. I want to ask a particular question, though, about our public lands. As you may be aware, this committee intends to participate in a markup of the Republican budget reconciliation plan, and while we have not yet seen the final legislative text, reports indicate that the Republicans, the House Republicans, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, intend to engage in a wholesale fire sale of our public lands to fund the reconciliation plan that they're pursuing. In Colorado, we see things very differently. We treasure the public lands that we're so lucky to have. I wonder if you might have a view on whether or not our public lands ought to be put up for sale, and insofar as you have a view on that, I would welcome it.
Thank you, Ranking Member Neguse. You know, for all his advocation, prior to being state forester in Colorado, I spent just over 13 years with U.S. Forest Service, primarily as an implementation level line officer, so a district ranger. I was attracted to that work because I fundamentally believe that our public land, this experiment of holding not any lands but the best lands in trust together to the benefit of the many as opposed to the few, is by far the most beautiful demonstration of democracy in the history of the Republic. So that's how I feel about our public lands. And I feel like it's one of the few things that hopefully as a people, certainly as Coloradans, you know, our public lands define who we are in many respects. We, depending on where you live, you wake up every day with the mountains and the forests of our lands sort of coming in through your window. And I would hope that if there's anything that we could come to agreement on, it would be to continue to cherish, defend, protect, conserve, and manage those lands to the benefit of current generations and future generations to come.
That is so well said, and it's hard for me to follow. That I think you articulated so well the ethos that certainly you and I share, and frankly, I suspect the vast majority of Americans share. And I would just say, as you noted, conservation stewardship of our public lands has largely and long been a bipartisan value. It is only recently, my colleagues on the other side of the aisle seem to have abandoned that principle. And we're going to have an opportunity here in a week's time for my colleagues to, I hope, pull back from the brink and not allow the debasement and wholesale sale of our public lands continue under the plan that House Republicans have, at least thus far, seem to have articulated. Again, we'll learn more here in the coming days. But in any event, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your testimony. I appreciate all the witnesses. Obviously, every one of these bills is a bipartisan bill, largely non-controversial, and I appreciate the sponsors bringing these bills forward, and I'm glad that our committee, which has long been known as a subcommittee, I should say, that engages in the hard work of legislating, could be doing that today. But I would just be remiss if I didn't address the elephant in the room, which is, as I described, some very, very disconcerting actions that the Trump administration is pursuing that will have generational impacts for our public lands for years to come. With that, I yield.